The game plays right here.
Are you ready for some football?
Your sports leader, WOHS Shelby, WLON Lincoln, and WCSL Cherryville Gastonia.
Hello, this is Milton Baker inviting you to listen to NASCAR Racing right here on WCSL 1590 AM, 92.3 FM, and KTCBroadcasting.com.
Man, I only do things incredible can, cause I am the seed of a chosen breed. You don't see too many like me, cause I am one of the reasons you do what you do when you wanna be me instead of you, cause I am still on beat, showing love to the streets. Come on, you know me, cause that's who I am.
And good afternoon. Welcome everybody to today's live podcast broadcast. And this may be the one that was, nope, that's working. I had Hunter muted the other day, guys, on one of the shots. It didn't hurt my feelings or the folks watching at home, I guess, for a few minutes. But did have a boo-boo the other day. I want to make sure that wasn't the same one I was committing today. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kevin Hastings along with Rob Ruppe and Andre Bush are in the house today. Good afternoon, fellas. And Hunter is out this week. We've been waiting months and months and months for what's going to happen with Cam Newton, Rob. He takes one day off.
Yeah.
And the news comes down the line. And we've got a lot to talk about today. That's why you see Andre Bush sitting in the house today. Hunter's out. Rob's here to help host. Andre's here to help talk a little NFL and NBA action before we talk NASCAR here in a little bit and some Major League Baseball with Rob. But, Rob, I want to thank you for coming on the show today and helping out us guys here on KTC Broadcast. And I've done a little work here. I'm trying to figure out where everybody's cameras are. Rob, your name's Hunter today on my screenshot, so I've got to try to find you there. So, anyway, there's Rob Ruppe. He bleeds green and white. Philadelphia. That's not a Packers shirt, is it? It's a right. No Packers fans here today, Rob. And then let's see. Rob's a Atlanta Braves fan. There you go. There's Chipper Ruppe. I'll work on the camera a little bit. There we go. That works a lot better.
There it is.
Give us a little promo there, Rob. Say, watch Atlanta Braves baseball.
Hey, you got to watch. Hey, watch Atlanta. Listen to
Atlanta.
Yeah, listen to Atlanta.
We don't
Braves.
broadcast the video, do we?
Yeah, better get it right. Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball right here on KTC Broadcasting. Your soon-to-be World Series champs that are built for a 60-game season.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day. Terry picked all the last-place teams, it seems like, from last year, thinking they're going to win. The Nationals were not in there. The Cardinals were not in there, and they've never had a losing record without Yadier Molina in the lineup, and he's going to play all the games, Rob. So I wouldn't bet. I'm not saying they're going to win the World Series or go all the way, but I think the safest bet, now here I'll shoot myself in the foot with this, Cardinals in the playoffs. Okay? Safest bet.
Interesting.
Not first or second. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm saying Yadier, I think it's 17 years. They've only had one losing record in his career, so book it for them to make the playoffs, going out on a limb there early. Welcome everybody. Andre Bush is in the house. He is our resident Tampa Bay. No, I pronounced that wrong, didn't I? Tampa Bay expert.
Yes.
So we've got the Patriots South, and we're going to talk to him about if they're ready to face Cam Newton in the Super Bowl.
It's going to be interesting. And like I heard coming in, Tom Brady not afraid to give the big middle finger to the NFL Players Association with all his workouts.
With the workouts, I've already accused Andre of cheating this morning. Andre, y'all been cheating, hadn't you?
That man been doing the same routine every year. Ain't gonna let nobody stop him.
Corona be damned. Tom's got things to do.
Yeah, he getting too old to be trying to switch up now.
Oh my goodness. We're going to talk a little bit about all that today. We've got NBA is getting started back up in a few weeks. Some players playing, some not. The schedule has been released. We've got Major League Baseball to get into. DH is now in the National League. We'll see what Rob thinks about that. 60 games is the schedule for us, and more than we got NASCAR this past weekend. 2 races at Pocono to go over. And Rob, I don't know if you was listening on Saturday, but we like to let JP read the race names, and it's a total disaster. Between the pronunciations and it's just a total disaster. You know how the names are. The Credit 1-400 presented by Microsoft, whatever. And jeez, that's if he's awake, ain't it, Andre? If his eyes are awake, he comes in. We fill him up with a biscuit, and Andre said that's
where you mess up. You don't feed somebody a biscuit at 8 in the morning.
That has problem with being awake. That's JP's major problem. All right, guys. Well, let's jump straight in to the Cam Newton situation. Cam signs with the New England Patriots, and in an incentive-laden deal. If you thought that this was Belichick's plan all along, I would guarantee that his plan wasn't that he would sign Cam Newton to a minimum wage incentive-laden deal after everyone else passed on him.
To me, guys, and not being a fan of the Patriots, it's a incredible move, and to me, they may have struck gold in this thing, because I think if he meets every incentive, it's still only $7.5 million for a guy who's been MVP in the league.
Yeah.
That was a shocker to me. That really got the best of me for sure.
Yeah, if he could have fell into any situation, this is the one he wanted right here, though, with Belichick. Like I was telling Kevin, you never know. I don't think he'll make it to the Super Bowl, but if anybody can get him there, and he needs, I think he's been stunning with his quarterback coach.
Right.
Like, he ain't never had nobody who really teaching him the patience and what to look for. He just sling the ball with no control. But him and Belichick, they could see us there.
Well, here's
us there. Hear that, Rob?
I hear it.
Eagles fan over here.
Hey, the new girlfriend ain't that pretty. That's what I'm just saying.
Oh,
Shots
fired.
That's all I was saying. They tried.
Well, that's funny that as Tampa, Andre, you're kind of just tied into all this because you guys got Brady and Gronk, and then Cam, you've been dealing with him for years, is going to New England. So you're kind of right in the smack dab in the middle of this. Like you said, the girlfriend might not be that pretty. What do you? How am I'm trying to put it is, my biggest thing, I guess, is, and one thing I always had, my biggest issue, and really my only issue with Cam, is how to be, I would say, a leader of men.
Right.
So if Rob, you've been down on the sidelines plenty of it during all these years in Crest, and Andre in a huddle, Andre, you being in the trenches and on the line and everything. If your quarterback comes back to the huddle, and let's say his post game and press game conference attire, is that the person? Then when he comes in the huddle after dressing like that to the game, does he inspire you to follow him? Does he, when during the fan fest and stuff, Rob, during practices, he'll throw a pass, and then he'll walk over to the stands and start the wave. Now, he would. Okay, then how about when you get a first down, he does the first down point. Well, all that's fine and dandy to me if you're a running back or a wide receiver or somebody. That's your job, is to get the first down. The quarterback's job isn't over until the game is over. And to me, I always wondered about if your starter throws a pass and then he goes and does the wave while the other two are throwing, as a backup, are you supposed to do what the starter does after you throw your pass and go do the wave? Or how and how is that? How is he going to change? He's got to change some, if not most of a lot of his off-field and leadership behavior to fit this Patriots system, and that's where my concern is with the Patriots, and maybe that's why they did go the one-year deal.
And here's the thing with Cam, guys. We a lot of people do question his leadership, and is he that leader? When Cam's on a winning team, his leadership is outstanding. Cam's struggles comes in when his team begins to struggle, and you can see it happen. You can watch his body language on the sidelines. You never see him going.
Is that an accountability thing?
And that's what's going to be key in New England under Belichick. How's that going to change what Cam does? Is Cam able to change that? And I think on the flip side of that,
Belichick's going to be a jerk in the tape room.
Belichick
that's what Brady did.
Here's my thing there, though.
Didn't like him.
Brady had been there for so long that New England has done what they've done offensively for so long. How easy is it going to be for New England to change what they do offensively? Because they're going to have to do some different things, Andre, with Cam as quarterback.
Yeah, you're right. But see, but one thing I do like about Cam, he's a good morale booster. All that dancing and celebrating as a player, and when you're winning, that's good for your team.
Right.
That gets you pumped up on the sideline. It gets everybody going. But like you said, when things are going bad, it looks bad because everybody.
To me, it's the position. He could be any of the other 22 positions, and he could do everything he does, and I wouldn't say a thing. But as the quarterback, it's just, to me, all eyes are on me. If I get up and celebrate a first down, well, is that our goal? Do we celebrate after every first down? Our goal is to score. I get 7 first downs, and am I going to do 7 first down dances and then not score on this drive? Right. And then what do I do? Right. Or miss the field goal or throw a pick in the red zone? That's just been my biggest thing, is that as the quarterback, you're supposed to be the actual. You're the leader, not the hype man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to set the example, not get everybody crunk. And it'd just be weird seeing another or it's the position to me.
And here's another thing, guys. New England set themselves up to not where they wouldn't have to sign Cam Newton.
Right, they wasn't trying.
They've got guys in a quarterback room that can start for them. How does Cam respond as well? It's been a long time since he's had to battle for a number 1 spot.
I don't know anything about Stidham.
How does he respond?
Do y'all?
Yeah, it's gonna be good for him.
I think it's a guy that we're looking at future wise.
I just got the strange feeling Belichick about to. He got an ace up his sleeve right now.
Right.
Like it's a much better upside to this situation than a downside.
Right.
Putting him on the field.
And my thing, guys, when we now look at it from the Panthers side of things too, a lot of people said maybe this Liz Frank injury wasn't handled the right way from their organization. The organization says Cam didn't handle it the right way. What happens if Cam comes out and he is able to lead this team, win the division, take them deep into the playoffs? How does that make the Panthers look in this whole deal?
Like they always do, like dummies.
Right.
I think they should have stuck with him. I said, I ain't pulling for Cam to still be in the NFC South, but I don't know if I would have cut ties with him.
I think the biggest issue that we have looking at the moves that teams make, and Dominique Foxworth was on TV talking today complaining that no other teams would give Cam any more money or this money. But to me, the problem we make is every situation is like Madden or a video game, to where there are no feelings involved. There is no ties to like your job, your GM. If I cut somebody on a video game, my video game general manager isn't tied to that job. So a lot of these people are tied to these draft picks and tied to these folks. So if Matt Rule comes into the league, does he want to put his 7-year contract on Cam Newton's health after he's played 9 years?
Right.
So to me, what they did was, let's take a gamble on a quarterback who could be good for the first 2 years, and then I've still got a 5-year deal. If something don't happen, we can draft the guy we want. We can go after whoever we want.
I think he's sitting right down there at Clemson. That's where they want.
So yeah. So what I'm saying is that Foxworth was like, well, why wouldn't the Panthers pay this much to get him? They got Kyle Allen, and Adam Schefter tried to explain, Cam, this is the only team that Cam would accept this deal with.
Right.
He's not accepting a minimum wage deal to be backup for the Steelers or the Eagles or whoever.
Cam had to bet on himself for a 1-year deal. Kind of like what we've seen in good
the only
baseball, like Josh Donaldson going to the Braves.
The Patriots would have took that deal,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, he had to find a place where he could show he could still win. The Patriots could pick up that deal. But another thing, guys, is that we got to realize, too, at this point, a lot of people are questioning where are we going to be season-wise. Yeah. And, we've been talking about that for a while now. So now you start looking financially as a team, you kind of start moving them beans a little bit different-wise around as far as what kind of money you're making and where you're going to spend it. I think that's what we're seeing a lot of right now as well. Jadeveon Clowney, still available out there.
That's crazy.
I mean, we're talking about some guys that are difference makers that are still available on the open market. But I think a lot of teams are afraid to start investing big money right now because they don't know what it's going to look like come November.
Clowney's also turned down some big contracts.
Fans and stands and all that stuff.
Right.
Worried too. Can't get them $17 beers.
That's right. $25 parking.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Those are big concerns. I'm not sure. Rob, we kind of touched on it walking in the room. I'm not sure that we play high school football this year.
Right.
This fall in the calendar year of 2020. I would say college is very questionable. The pros in all these sports, to me, are grown men and can sign health waivers.
And I thought it was interesting, too, just like with the NFL now, there is talk about how, yes, the first, 10 rows or whatever, you're going to be allowed to post advertisement and cover those seats.
They're going to cover them like NASCAR, basically, with banners, the first 10 rows, so the people aren't that close to the players.
And my thing is, too, if I'm a sports league now's the perfect time to go and renegotiate a TV contract. Yeah. Because at TV-wise, the viewers are going to be incredible.
You're going to need it.
So you got that opportunity for your viewers. So maybe it's time for those two crowds to get back together and say, look, we've got a product that's going to be big-time demand right now. You're going to get all kind of eyeballs. So maybe we need to talk about this thing just a little bit.
Yeah, because they got to do a lot with the internet, too.
Right.
Get all these games on TV because everybody going to want to see the games.
I mean, guys, if the Korean Baseball League is getting as many eyeballs as it's getting right now, you can imagine what's going to happen when basketball started back and hockey and baseball and football and those kind of things, what kind of viewership that's going to bring.
Yeah, right now, people watch anything right now. I was watching a cornhole tournament the other day.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle of the day.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, it don't matter what you put out there. They're going to be playing that little finger skateboard game. You ever seen that?
Yep. Paper football. Yeah. They can play because they can be 6 feet apart. They're just flipping back and forth with gloves. Yeah, we can make it work.
We're gonna be tuning in, just eager to see something. But still, back to that Cam though. Can you imagine how much running he gonna be doing this year?
None.
You crazy. He about to make a point this year. He's too much of a competitor. Yeah, he got his flaws and that weird stuff he be doing, but
it's the coach gonna say that.
That's exactly. That's
the coach gonna say throw the ball.
Belichick gonna cut him loose. He gonna do whatever he can to try to see Tom in the Super Bowl, which ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
That's the whole goal of everything.
Well, folks, watching on the podcast, you see Nick Foles with little Nicky in his arms, and then of course Tampa Brady's own Andre Bush.
Need that Super Bowl back, man.
Well,
you're gonna be on the beach.
You do know Nick Foles beat Tom Brady.
That's true.
Not this time, Brady.
And Nick Foles is in Chicago.
We've only known one Tom Brady. That's New England Tom Brady. This different right here. this
Nick Foles in Chicago.
Has he beat him as a Buck? He undefeated as a Buck.
Oh my God. that is true.
He is undefeated.
Somewhat true. We'll go. I'll go with somewhat true. How about that?
That's gonna be lovely. That's why everybody out there practicing. He ain't the only one breaking rules. Everybody breaking rules with him down there. He a bad man. When you can get people to come in with you and break rules, you a bad man.
Tom's still down there breaking rules. The Patriots just got their discipline for when they supposedly had guys filming in Cincinnati.
Well, that's what I asked Andre. Does that mean that this whole time it's actually been Brady this whole time, the cheating? Because he's obviously the only one cheating right now.
That's a good question.
And Belichick's not cheating. So, I mean, from what I'm thinking.
Hey, you got to leave the past where it's at, though. You can't bring your old relationship to your new relationship.
Oh, my God.
I don't know nothing about Tom cheating. I never heard that in my life. Never in my life. I don't believe it.
Tom's never done anything, huh?
Never. Them was just a regular football.
We'll do some air checks on the footballs down there. How about that?
That was some cheap ones.
That's them cheating. Jeez. Gee. I will vouch to this day that was 100% Brady and on Brady. As being someone who's thrown a football before, that's the quarterback. Right. That's 100% the quarterback on that one.
So they always got to blame somebody.
Yeah, we'll blame Brady on that one.
We just suspend him.
All right, so let's have a little fun then, guys. Where we're at, you guys aren't regulars on the show, so I can kind of do this with you guys when I want. Let's do on the yearly average. I think are they increasing the playoffs this year? Did I get that right or not? Do we know? Let me make sure. See, I think they are for next year. Before I get that right, I think they added someone. Yeah, they are expanding them. So this makes our game a little less fun or / harder to do. So last year, or on average, I won't read that. Okay, all right. On average, so there's 12 teams that will make the playoffs every year.
Right.
Okay. On average, 6 of them make it the next year, and 6 of them drop out. Almost every year, it's either 6 or 7 teams, give or take. So that's usually how it is. So we usually go through the teams that made it last year and try to pick the playoffs. Okay. So that's what I want to do with you guys is let's do a quick NFL prediction now that it looks like we've got our quarterbacks where they're going to be, and where everybody needs. I may have to pull this up on here instead because that internet on that computer is just awful. I don't know why, but it is. So last year's playoff teams. So let's get through that. I had them up on the board here. Ravens, Chiefs, Patriots, Texans, Titans, and Bills. 49ers, Packers, Saints, Eagles, Seahawks, and Vikings. It's the first board over here for you guys that want to kind of look and keep an eye on. This is kind of we played it with the other guys the other day. So the third board there, Andre. Those are the teams that made the playoffs last year. So what I want you guys to do is get me 3 teams off. We're going to pick 3 teams out of each one, okay? So, Rob, give me an AFC and an NFC team off the playoff, out of the playoffs from last year. Will not make the playoffs.
Texans will not make it.
Okay.
And oh man, the Vikings.
Okay. Andre, give me an NFC and an AFC team. That are out. Kick them out. No longer in the playoffs. Ravens, Chiefs, Patriots, Titans, and Bills.
No Trey gonna hate this, but I say the Titans out.
Titans are out.
And
So goodbye to the Tennessee Titans from Andre. In the AFC, how about the NFC? 49ers, Packers, Saints, Eagles, and Seahawks. Just think I've got to pick one after you do.
Man,
Get them out of there.
Robbie, you probably ain't gonna like this one. I'm about to go with them Eagles.
You're gonna be wrong. I'll tell you that.
Now, see, with them adding teams this year, there's more than likely only 2 teams that are going to miss instead of the 3 by adding that extra spot. But we're still going to play this game for fun, even though it's not going to be fun once I start narrowing it down. So that means I've got to get rid of a couple of teams, a team in each one. You guys have gotten rid of Titans and Texans. What's left on the board is Ravens, Chiefs, Patriots, and Bills. Before yesterday, Cam Newton wasn't a Patriot.
That's right.
Buffalo Bills. Guys, I was feeling good about you for a while. Ravens. Ugh. I don't like. I like running quarterbacks to have a 1 to 3 year window, maybe of making runs, Super Bowls. We're hearing all kinds of noise from our computer. You've got. Better hit record just in case too. It starts acting silly. If you folks online watching on Facebook, if we do get kicked off, we'll be right back up. I shouldn't have clicked on the internet and just acted stupid there, Rob. Browns, Ravens, Steelers, all in that division. However, I really don't like the Ravens, but I don't know if the Bills. Dang it, Bills have been good. Bills have been good. But what's Cam gonna do? So I mean, like, if Cam plays 3 games, he's not ready, he's not hurt. I mean, Bills could run away with the division.
That's true.
I'm gonna go.
And I know it sounds crazy, guys, but I really think the Dolphins are going to be much improved. Enough to cause some to cause some issues in that division.
For right now, I'll say Buffalo doesn't make it. Only because if it was 6 teams, I would take Baltimore out. But 7's going to allow them, I think, to squeak in with at least 9 wins. All right, in the NFC, 49ers, Packers, Saints, Eagles, Seahawks, and Vikings. Rob already took my Vikings out, so I'm not going to pick the Lions or Bears to win the division.
No.
So Packers got to stay. Saints are my favorite team to win it. I like
You're gonna be mad.
what the Seahawks do. They're tough to lose. I'm going to do it, Rob. Super Bowl hangover, California. There is poop all over the streets in the city. There is people acting like fools. The Golden State Warriors have left town. I'm going out on a limb and say this. I almost picked Baltimore and San Francisco not to make it in one fell swoop from the Super Bowl.
So you taking the 49ers out?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, look at the list. Of the 4 guys I got left, their quarterback's by far the 4th worst. I'm not taking Garoppolo over Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, or Aaron Rodgers. Now, the Packers, I was going to take them out, but Rob took the Vikings out, and I'm not putting the Lions or Mitchell Trubisky to lead his team to a win. Now, in Chicago, though, we do have a miracle. Can Nick Foles lead them to a division title? That's where we would be looking at.
And that's
what
what
do
a
you
lot
think,
of people
Rob?
have said. You know, that's been the issue with Chicago, is trying to find the answer at that quarterback spot. And is Saint Nick there to do it again for another team? Or is it truly Philadelphia that brings out the best in Nick Foles? We just don't know.
Well, he got some weapons in Chicago.
Yeah.
He got some speed.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Is their defense good enough to hold up for
In that division.
to win the division? That's the thing. You already took my Vikings out, and if I take the Packers out, I'd have to say Bears. I'm not going to say the Detroit Lions.
No.
I'm saying the Bears started off good last year,
Yeah,
led by that defense.
I know.
As long as you can keep them off the field, they're gonna be all right.
Let's see.
Yeah, if Chicago can find any way to sustain drives
Yeah.
offensively, they've got a chance to be pretty good.
You think Foles going to win that job?
I think so.
He better win it.
Yeah,
That man have been to a Super Bowl. He should win that job.
because he don't have a spot in
Well.
Philly anymore.
The Bears made two mistakes with Trubisky. One, they drafted him.
Yeah,
Two, they
Yeah.
played him, but no.
yeah.
But Rob, you're a Duke fan, but you know, watching the Tar Heels over the years, the last thing I would do would pick a Tar Heel quarterback to.
Especially from the era that he came out of in Chapel Hill.
He lost to Duke and NC State. What resume says that's the number 2 pick?
I mean, I questioned it from the get go.
We'll pick him second. The Bears okay, man, they might win the division. The Bears' defense last year was 4th in the NFL. Here's your all right. Remember, 49 of 54 Super Bowl champions have had a top 12 defense.
Yep, that's why I'm taking those 49ers off of there.
Here's your last year's top 12 defenses. Patriots 1, Bills 2, Ravens 3, Bears 4, Vikings 5. This is my AFC North pick for next year's champion. The Pittsburgh Steelers, folks, were 6th in defense and just added Ben Roethlisberger. The Chiefs were 7th in defense, guys. San Francisco was 8th. Packers 9th. How about the Denver Broncos were 10th in total scoring and defensive scoring last year. 11th, the Dallas Cowboys, and 12th, the Tennessee Titans. Teams on the outside looking in at the top 12 last year were the Chargers 13, Eagles 14, Jets 15, Rams 16, Colts 17, Texans 18, Browns 19, and the Jaguars 20. The worst defenses in the league, guys. Dolphins the worst, Panthers the second worst, Giants the third worst, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the 4th worst defense.
There's your issue,
In
Tom
the
Brady.
Our
NFL.
quarterback threw over 30 interceptions. Like, so I'm just leaving that out there. Well, I threw 30. We passed that along to somebody else too.
Oh, God.
It's hard to win when you throwing 30. That means your defense is playing defense, coming off, get a sip of water, and go right back out there.
Twice a game.
Like, come on.
Twice a game. In each half. At least he spreads it out once a half. Awful nice of him. All right, so let's pick the playoff teams to replace those. Let's do it this way. This will be the easiest way. Let's pick division winners, and we'll fill them out through that way. So, Andre, in your division, I'll let you pick who's going to be the winner of the NFC South.
That's silly. Tampa Bay.
Rob, NFC East.
You know I'm going to take the Eagles.
Well, we can't. We've already took them out.
That's going to be the Cowboys.
This is where it gets fun. NFC North. I went through this a second ago in my head. I'll do it myself. We took out the Vikings. At least I left Green Bay in, so that'll be easy. I'll go Green Bay. All right, back to Andre for the NFC West. I took out the 49ers. That means you've got Seahawks, Cardinals, and Rams to pick as the champion. Seahawks, Cardinals, or Rams?
I would go with Russell. I'll go with Seahawks.
So Seattle. So there's our 4 champions. So who's left still on the board? New Orleans. Philadelphia got taken out. Seattle. Packers. Nobody. We've got them. 49ers. I took you. I think that's everybody in the NFC. So we're going to get to pick 2 more teams in the NFC. Let's go over to the AFC real quick and do these guys. AFC East champion. The Buffalo Bills have been taken out. So, Rob, Patriots, Dolphins, or Jets?
Patriots.
All right, Andre. AFC West. Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders to be the champion of the division. Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders. Who did I forget?
I don't need no more.
Chargers.
Oh yeah, the Chargers.
You could have left that out. Man, that's tough right there.
Chiefs.
That would be the smart decision.
All right.
But
The champion of the division, not playoff.
that
You
was
can
the
always
champion.
have, yeah, division champ.
Yeah, I go with the Chiefs.
Okay. NFC North. I'm going the Pittsburgh Steelers. That leaves Rob in the AFC South, in which we took the Texans out. Wait a minute, and the Titans. We took them both out. So that only leaves you two choices. Who's going to be the champs? Jaguars or the Colts? Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis.
Those two, I'm going to take the Colts.
So Colts with the division winner. So that leaves us in the AFC. Baltimore. Got New England, got the Chiefs, took the Texans out, and Buffalo. I took them out. Houston and Tennessee. Chiefs, all right. So that means we get to pick two from each division, guys. I'm going to let you guys do them. All right, who wants the AFC?
I go with the AFC.
All right, here's your choices for playoff teams. You get to pick. We'll let you each pick one in the AFC. How about that? Duh. I got two spots. Give me one each. Here's your teams to choose from. Jets, Dolphins, Browns, Bengals, Jaguars, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers. Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, Jaguars, Browns, Bengals, Dolphins, Jets.
And this is the what?
To make the playoffs. You want your Raiders
It'd be
pick?
wild cards.
These are just wild cards, yeah.
I'm going to them Jets.
Okay. Rob? Browns? Bengals? Dolphins? Jaguars? Raiders? Broncos? Broncos had a top 10 defense last year.
Torn between the Raiders and the Broncos.
Mm.
Golly.
Yeah, that Raiders a tough pick.
Yep. I'm going to take the Broncos because of their defense.
We're going to go Denver in the AFC. All right, in the NFC, here's our choices.
You already know.
Giants, Redskins, Bears, Lions, Falcons, Panthers, Rams, Cardinals. Cardinals, Rams, Panthers, Falcons, Lions, Bears, Redskins, Giants. Who do y'all feel good about? Two of them got to make it. Giants, Redskins, Bears, Lions, Falcons, Panthers, Rams, Cardinals.
I go with the Falcons.
ATL for Andre. So that puts us 3 teams from the NFC South are in the playoffs. So, Rob, that leaves you
I'll take the Bears.
with Bears, Giants, Redskins, Lions, Panthers, Rams, and Cardinals. The two most popular choices were probably Bears and Rams.
Yeah, I'll take the Bears.
Going to Chicago. All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, here is our unofficial predictions for next year using some fuzzy-ass math that I made up and made the guys follow by. In the playoffs, the 4 division winners, Tampa, Dallas, Green Bay, and Seattle, Between those four, who you guys think will have the best record and number 1 overall seed?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa, Dallas, Green Bay, or Seattle?
I don't think any of them are going to have that super of a record because it's the two that took out. But I'll take the Cowboys.
So Rob and Andre
They,
give
well,
you
you know they got 4 wins guaranteed
one
against
seeds.
Washington and
I
Giants.
don't know now.
I don't think we'll lose a game, to be honest. I'm just gonna tell you like it is.
Oh
I
goodness.
don't see us losing.
Um,
Unless we play a Pro Bowl team.
Redskins, if they don't turn it over, they're gonna have a pretty good defense.
They're going to turn it over.
Yeah. New Orleans, Atlanta, and Chicago we've got as the wild cards. In the AFC, New England, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis are our division winners. Baltimore, Jets, and Broncos as our wild card teams. Don't hold us to any of that. None of it means anything, but we did our best to go with that. All right, 2 early predictions. Out of that, I know Andre's on the Tampa train. Rob, you feeling anybody right now in particular that one of the one or a couple of teams that are probably maybe favorites for the Super Bowl?
Not take the Chiefs right now.
You still taking the Chiefs?
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know. I the way the NFL happens, it's hard to take teams back to back like that. It's very hard to win in the league. I'm going to do a unbiased poll here, Rob. You ready?
Yep.
Give me win-loss. Bucks at Saints. Give it for Bucks. Win or loss.
Bucks at the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Saints.
Panthers at Bucks.
Bucks.
Bucks at Broncos.
Bucks.
Chargers at Bucks.
Bucks.
Buccaneers in Chicago.
Chicago.
Packers in Tampa.
Packers.
Tampa in Vegas.
I'll take Tampa.
John Gruden returns to Vegas.
That's gonna be great.
Well, he's not returning to Vegas. He's returning to play the Raiders. But Bucks at Giants.
Bucks.
Saints at Bucks.
Saints.
Doing good. You got 2 wrong, but you're doing good.
Bucks at Panthers.
Bucks.
Rams at Bucks.
I'll take Bucks because they're coming across country.
Chiefs at Bucks.
Chiefs.
Vikings at Bucks in December.
Wow.
Fire the cannon.
Vikings at Bucks. Now, Andre, you have sat in the middle of Panther Stadium and watched Case Keenum and the Vikings dismantle Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. Was that the ending of Cam, really? That game? That might have been.
I also watched Jameis Winston come in there and win too.
I know.
So hey,
I'll take the Bucks.
He did that blind. All right, Buccaneers in Atlanta
I'll take Atlanta.
in the Dome.
Yep, I'll take Atlanta.
Buccaneers in the Dome of Detroit.
See, there's always going to be a game that jumps up and gets you that you don't expect. I don't think this is that game. I'll take the Bucks.
that's what I'm talking about.
And finally, 2 out of 3 weeks, the Bucks play the Falcons. Like, they couldn't figure out the schedule any better. That's
don't
just
make any
terrible.
I hate when they do that.
Falcons in Tampa to end the season. This could have wild card and first place playoff implications for both teams in Florida.
Tampa at home.
Tom Brady. So the official count, Andre, is 10-6 from a Philadelphia Eagles fan. 10-6. Yep. How you feel about that?
I don't know about the 10 and 6.
10-6.
Do I need-
Wild card.
Do I need to play?
Saints win the division.
Do I need to play the video of you talking to Juwan about y'all's bet? He's an Eagles fan too.
No, I'm issue a bet to everybody. I say we still gonna be 14 too. If we don't go undefeated,
Wow.
I was saying worst case scenario, I'm gonna go 14 too. I can't see
Oh
us losing.
shit!
We can't lose
Worst
6
case
games.
scenario.
We can't
14-2. Wow.
We can't lose 6 games. Like we got too many. If you start going through that, you know, they had a list where they check off positions on each team.
Well, I told you had the worst defense in the league about, so you're gonna have to score more than everybody.
I'm telling you, can't look at it like that. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't have to look at a bad defense. Don't look at a bad defense.
We gotta guard anybody.
But you gotta look at who we had. Look who we had at the helm. Like, we had Winston out there. Like,
So you think he cost your team how many points a game?
yes, he cost us ever since he was licking on them gloves, talking about wins. Ever since then, everything went downhill.
How many points do you think he cost your defense a game?
I wouldn't even want to guess at that, but I know how many games I personally watched where he blew it at the end, ending the game with an interception. I watched in the game. What was it? Overtime game with a pick six.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't think I heard Jameis say it was like crab legs. He didn't like Swiss cheese.
I think
And he saw a lot of Swiss cheese when that defense was out there.
one of my favorite things Tom says about him is he keeps both teams in the ball game.
That's terrible. That ain't even cute.
Yeah,
Like, but when you throw an interception to lose an overtime game, I'm done with you. That's it.
or receiver should have ran the right route.
Pick six too. I'm done. I'm done.
The receiver
Like
should-
I was so. I remember that game too because I was not surprised. I was like, now this is how you do. I think I texted you on that game.
Well, that was like when Romo scored 48 on the Broncos and got beat, and he threw like 5 touchdowns and 1 pick, and the 1 pick was within the last 2 minutes of the game, and that was the opening of the Sports Center. 51-48, Romo throws a pick to end the game. What about the other 48 damn points he just put on the board? They didn't talk
Yeah.
1 second about that, but yeah.
Jameis should have been the opening for every one of them. Then.
Let's see what Rob thinks. Rob, whose fault was it the Falcons lost the Super Bowl? Their defense or their offense?
I'd say their
We're up
defense.
28-3. Whose fault is it?
Yeah, I'd say the defense.
I can't convince Terry otherwise.
Yep.
He's got to keep the foot on the gas. Well, how about the defense? Show the hell up.
Hey, what is it?
Just one
Look,
time.
As long as
Just
sports
once.
has been around, they're saying is and will always forever be defense wins
Yeah.
championships. Period.
I try to
'cause
tell
it-
these boys.
That's hard to say keep your foot on the neck because in the NFL you can't do that. You never
They're
know.
playing defense too.
Yeah, just one
But
one play can turn the whole
Yep.
game around.
But and one thing especially in the NFL, and people don't realize it's harder to do it maybe in other levels. But the play clock is 40 damn seconds.
yes, that's
So-
the enemy.
So Rob, I used to do the math on it back when Romo was playing with Jason Garrett. The second time the Giants won the Super Bowl, Dallas lost 4 games that year by just like 2 or 3 points or whatever. And I went in and started doing the math on it and looking at it. There was 3 games they lost that year. And I remember they missed the playoffs. They tied with the Giants. Giants got the tiebreaker, went in the playoffs and won the Super Bowl. There was 3 games that last year, Rob, where Jason Garrett could have called 3 quarterback kneels and a punt for the whole fourth quarter and would have won all 3 of those games. These coaches keep and throw and stop that clock. And every 3 and out and a punt is over 2 minutes. It's like 2.5 minutes. So just if you get 5 possessions in the second half, that's a whole quarter right there.
Right.
Only way the other team catches up is if they score all 5 possessions. Okay. And so I blame the coach and the defense and on that. And Garrett, like I said, how about a coach, Rob, if the whatever play you call or series that you call isn't as good as, hey guys, let's take 3 knees and punt.
Well, here's a stat for you, and I looked it up because I remember I'd heard it before. Average NFL games, about 3 hours.
They play, 20 minutes?
The actual time ball is in play in an NFL game is 11 minutes.
11 minutes. It was worse than I thought it was. I
11
thought it was 12.
minutes when the ball is actually in play. And it lasts 3 hours to play that game.
And you and you'll,
Hello, 40-second play clock.
And I'm not naming any names, Andre, but you'll have people tell you that that's a fun sport to watch, but NASCAR isn't. When you got 3 hours of on the edge, about to wreck and die.
Or you could watch a game that
11 minutes.
11 minutes when the ball is actually in play.
3 hour and 15-minute television broadcast, folks. If you don't think you're watching a television show, think that's the biggest thing is you actually only see 11 minutes of football in a 3.5 hour
That's crazy
television show, and we love it.
Yeah,
and we sit there and on the edge of our seats just waiting.
So it's for 11 minutes. That's crazy.
How fast, Rob? You're on the sidelines. How fast does high school games seem compared to these other games? Rob, aren't you just waiting for one day for the referee to walk over to you and say, "Is the TV back on yet? Are y'all at a commercial break yet?" If they would give us 20 extra seconds, we would be golden. But we end up missing kickoffs and something sometimes because of they don't count. They don't check on us in high school.
That's right.
Hey, real quick, I will tell you this. We were in a playoff game last year. I think it was Shelby basketball this year, and first or second round or something like that. And one of the refs actually did ask us if we were back out, and I about fell out of.
That's awesome.
I about fell out of my damn chair. He said, "Yeah, awesome. You guys still in break? You about ready?" It was because I think it was the end of a quarter or something like that, so he could waste a second or two if he needed to. So he just happened to say, he'd just be staring. Hey, you guys out yet? Well, no. Could you wait, kids? I was so shocked that someone actually cared for us about us in the corner, Rob.
Hopefully they're going to care. They better care a lot this year.
Well, if they play, I've gotten to the point I'm concerned that these schools are going to try to do their own thing. Because they all did their own thing with graduation.
Right.
Last year we had 6 schools call us about broadcasting their graduation. Not one called us this year.
Right.
So I don't know if that's Corona related. They didn't want to bring outside people in for anything, or what will be allowed and what will want to be allowed. So the state might say certain people can be allowed to the games, but then the schools might say, very well, some of these schools don't even want us there right to begin with. Some of these schools are going to say, well, we don't want you there at all to cover the game.
My thing is we all know.
And they might be restricting fans.
How difficult it is to put on a broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different to have somebody there with a camera and they're pointing it at a stage and saying so-and-so's name.
Right.
That's a whole different deal. And if the limitations that we could see with fans, especially if seasons flip and you're allowed to, let's say, baseball, softball, things like that happen, there's going to be some kind of fan limitation game-wise. I'd heard it talk one time, immediate family of players maybe be the only people that would be allowed there game-wise. And then media. So if the only way your folks who support your programs, especially the ones that don't have kids, and they're unable to watch those games, you want to talk about it's going to be a money issue anyway if football's not played, because that's the monster. That's the one who you go to any school pretty much in the state. Football funds the athletic program to get you through the rest of the year.
Let me ask you a quick question on that. Is there a rule that says you can't play football twice a year?
No.
Is there in any of these sports? Does the athletic association restrict? What I'm saying is,
and that's why you see some schools play their rival team. It happens in South Carolina a lot. Play their rival schools twice in the same year.
Well, what I was kind of getting at and asking maybe for us to think about is why, you preach and preach and preach and preach and preach to us, not you, Robbie, but people that we need the football programs to fund these things.
Right.
How many home games are there?
You want to be at 5 or 6.
Right? 5 to 7.
That depends on the year.
On the schedule.
Right.
Why is it stupid to me then that we base a whole budget around 6 events?
Right.
When instead you could either play summer football and spring football and make the same amount of money twice, or even what about flag football? Why do you not think that would bring some fans out to watch flag football tournament games?
You don't think, and I have said this many
summer
times.
Flag.
Many times.
I mean spring.
You have, like you said, you play your regular season in the fall. I am convinced, and because Lord knows ESPN's putting it on TV now, 7-on-7s. You could have a 7-on-7 league, which keeps your skill guys. I think it impacts your track programs a little bit because some of those guys would be there. But I think if you have some kind of spring, summer 7-on-7 league,
I like flag football 7-on-7. I mean, it gives you something. You're actually getting yards, you're making moves, you're doing things. It gives you something to watch. You can also, the thing about flag is that everybody can catch the ball. So like you'd think, well, maybe you don't have the linemen in there. Well, yeah, you do, because you want defensive linemen and people that can make moves like that and get after it. But they can also the trick plays that you can come up with are so fun, and that also gives a chance maybe for some of these smaller schools that don't pass so much to give these quarterbacks some experience. But that's just kind of a fun thing to think about as far as that. Another thing, what about this? I just want the rules to make sense. Don't tell me my kids can tackle each other, but I can't sit in the damn stands not tackling Robbie and his family.
right?
My family's not tackling his family. Our kids are on the field tackling each other.
Yeah.
They're going to bring whatever they catch back to my family and his family anyway, but we're not touching each other. So if they say we're going to play football so we can make money, but the fans can't come, that right there will make me upset / mad. Like, what are we doing here? But then again, Rob, if we push maybe some of the contact sports to the spring, what about this? What if we put the reorganized it and structured it to the non-contact sports in the fall? The sports that don't make no money. Golf, there's no reason it shouldn't be in the fall.
Right.
Okay. What about tennis?
Yeah.
You're not you're hitting the same ball, but that's just one person.
What if you move track season to the fall?
Any of that, anything that you're not directly touching someone in the sport. In basketball, you touch people. In football, you touch people. Volleyball, you don't. You touch the one ball. And you could wipe balls off and rotate that in. That's what I'm kind of thinking, Robbie, is why don't they look at maybe something to rotate the non-contact physical sports that don't make any money, put those in the spring to plan for now. I mean the fall.
Right.
Put those in the fall. See how that goes. But to me, the basis is what's your limit of, and in college they haven't seen it yet. And then what I mean by that is, if one player gets it, and we're going to find out in NBA and Major League Baseball, how are they going to react? Are we going to stop a whole team for 2 weeks? What are we going to do?
Here was some of the discussion I've heard talks being, and I think RJ's playing.
Mm-hmm.
He had just got his schedule for when he was supposed to work out. They were going to start July 6th. Like I said, word is I think that may have been pushed back now, but it was interesting because on his offensive line group works together.
Mm-hmm.
They're only together on the field from like 8 to 8:45. Then they trade places with another group that's been in the 10 group that's been in the weight room. They go to the field. RJ's group goes to the weight room for their weight room time, which I've heard the weights are being moved outdoors, so even that's going to be outside.
Jeez.
Once those two groups are done, they leave. They're gone. The interesting thing for me is going to be, if we're able to get started, if you're a coach, okay, you're fine now for your groupings, but you get in, let's say the season is allowed to start.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a coach, do you kind of have to put your players one through whatever who you think your best players are? Let's say you're Crest. Do I want TJ Ruff and DJ Fuller and those guys working in the same group? Because I've heard if one person in your group is sick,
Oh, you talking about talking about workout groups?
your whole group is isolated. So do you put your 5 best offensive linemen to work together? Because if one of them, and let's say the season started, one of them gets it, you've got your starting 5 offensive linemen have been quarantined. What do you do as a head coach?
Get a shot and go sit in the office.
I tell you what, Rob,
That's
as someone who played at Cherryville and Bessemer, I can give a rat's ass about your depth problems in Crest. I don't care about it, Crest. Y'all can have 20 people go out.
Think about
you
that.
got 25 more on the standing there.
Think about that. If you're a school,
What about the 1A and 2A schools? That the depth will kill them. But like I said, joking aside, Crest and Kings Mountain can afford to lose a couple. Cherryville and Bessemer in these 1A schools can't afford to lose anybody. Really.
That's right.
And they're going to. And I don't know. It worries me. A lot of it, just because I would like for them to set the rules and what the expectations are before we go instead of react.
That's been my thing the whole way with the Athletic Association. Q Tucker's kind of sat there and waited on, the governor to make whatever his decisions are and things like that. I think as an association, the Athletic Association, I'm like you, needs to be proactive and able to tell their their schools, here's what we're going to do, here's where we're at. Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on
Robbie. This is a nonprofit, multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah,
that
nonprofit, multi-million-dollar.
What they're going to do is not get sued.
That's
step one.
Here is, and you ought to see that. And that's another thing. You ought to see the paperwork you get to fill out now before your kid heads into practice. But I think information has got to get to people faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's got to. And I know that because of the virus and we're the sports show, but just like with the mask deal. Okay, if we needed that to happen, that should have happened a lot. That information should have got to us a lot quicker. You shouldn't have been telling us.
The very first thing they said, Rob,
was
you don't need it
them.
unless you're a medical professional. So and I told Andre it's the old Seinfeld thing. Have you seen the Seinfeld where Kramer drops the junior mint?
Yep.
That's what that's for. The mask is to keep you from getting junior mints into someone getting operated on, basically.
I seen a little meme that said, "Tell us to wear a mask now," like handing out condoms at the baby shower.
I mean, has
and let me just
has
say,
a pair of jeans ever stopped a fart?
Hopefully people are tuning in. I will say this. I've been out and about in the community, watch people wearing their masks. And people, if you're watching online, here's the deal. If your mask is right here, it's not doing you any good. If you take your mask off, and I've seen this, Andre, and you leave a store and you use the mask to wipe your face, that mask serves you no purpose.
That's silly.
Are you trying to say my mask is no good? Or is that what you're trying to say, Rob?
I actually told RJ.
Are you trying to tell me my mask is not good?
I told RJ, I said, if I could get a good Halloween mask, and that's be what I would wear at the store. Yes, I have you're correct. You have a facial covering.
Facial covering.
I'm telling you that now the market is blowing up on these masks, though. You can get them however you want them.
I've been thinking I've got a Darth Vader mask. Can I wear it? Now it's got holes to breathe in. But if someone said that, well, you got holes, my response would be, you have no idea what's under this mask.
Right.
I can have a mask under this mask.
My thing is, what about the stores that be saying that you can't come in with a mask on?
Hey, I do have to give a shout out to the guy I saw today wearing
burglars.
Had a mask on. It was Philadelphia Eagles. So I had to give him a shout out. I told him, I said, nice mask, man.
Oh goodness. I'm just, if masks work, why do we got to sit 6 feet away? If 6 feet away works, why do I got to wear a mask? It's to the basic person who listens to all this stuff change every day. It's so confusing and aggravating.
That's right.
to like, and then what makes you mad about it, or not necessarily you mad, but when other people get mad at other people for however they choose to act and wear, and we don't even know.
Here's a prime example, guys. My wife was at the grocery store yesterday. They had went, wore the mask, did the whole 9 yards, come out, put the groceries in the car. Well, when Angie came out, she took her mask off, put her stuff in the car. Well, she was taking the buggy back to the buggy corral. Well, this little old lady starts going ballistic. Ma'am, you're supposed to have a mask on. You can't go there without a mask on. She told her, she said, I'm just taking the buggy back.
The first person that points out in public to me like that I don't have a mask on.
Here's the thing.
They're getting the F word slung right back at them so quick.
The Lord was at work yesterday because my daughter went with her to the grocery store. Normally it's me, and I'm the one normally taking the buggy back to the corral.
Oh, okay.
The Lord knew exactly I was not to be at that grocery store yesterday.
I told her to fuck her in a mask. Shit.
Yeah, people,
I mean,
it's been a lot of people going crazy about these masks.
Well, what do you think George Washington is doing right now in his grave? about the mask. It's not necessarily.
I don't think he could award one. I don't
Listen,
think him wood teeth would have let him.
Well, if you would listen, if you proved to everybody that would stop everything and keep it everything, everybody would do it. But you BS everybody with a lot of this stuff, and then they even put in the things in San Francisco. We talked about that earlier. Rob, you can't have groups of 10 or more unless you're protesting, and you can have up to 120. That was the official guidelines. Rule 1, up to 10 people. Rule 2,
we're not playing football here.
It says Rule 2, if
We're
you're
protesting,
up to 120. You saw the racetrack, it did that, and then the Cooper and them got after him. So, we talk with Tom sometimes about states' rights, Fed rights, sovereignty. It seems like everybody is doing some type of a power grab in a lot of this. Some of it does seem political. How can I think about the things that you're not allowed to do? It's all stuff that makes you feel good.
Right.
Like, I can't go to a concert. I can't go to a game. I can't go to church. I can't go shopping or wherever. I can't go. My kids can't have games. It's stuff that you have fun and do. So where does that put you in a situation that I can't have fun? I can't go out. You're telling me I have to dress a certain way, and there's a lot of stress on people.
I read a great comment from a small business owner. It's like he said Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, major retail chains allow you to do what they do. The small business not allowed to operate in that same fashion. Wouldn't it make sense if the small businesses were open, people had other options other than the major, huge stores to go to, which would spread people out?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they should have closed any businesses. Yeah. Like everybody should stay able to operate. You giving us all these rules now. We should just have them same rules, then allow everybody going about.
If it was your choice to go out and you felt comfortable, then I think that's, like you said, your option. If you're a 70-year-old lady and you're uncomfortable being out in public because of the chance that it could happen to you, then by all means you stay home and let people help you in some way. But I struggle, and like you said, so many different points of view are being thrown at the general public to the point that it's confusing and causing people to ask questions. And like you said, when the government comes out originally and says these masks are no benefit, then the government comes back to you and says, oh, these are very important. Okay, well, you've lied to me once. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice.
I'm tired of the vilification of people that don't need it or deserve it. I mean, whether it's whether you wear a mask or not, even on that subject, or even when we have these sports talk debates, if I say Michael Jordan, if I could say this sentence, Rob, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever. If I post that on Twitter, Facebook, wherever, I will get a response. You're a hater. You hate LeBron James. F you.
Right.
I didn't say the word LeBron James. Mm-hmm. I didn't say anything about him. And we turn around and call people haters. And that word the definition has just been thrown out the window of the word hate. You can't honestly sit there and say, I don't have hate for someone. I want to sit there and say, I don't have hate for anyone in my heart. But then if I say Michael Jordan's the best or Albert Pujols is the best, without mentioning anyone else, you get called a hater.
The arena of debate has become non-existent.
You can't have a discussion.
We're sitting here now on what sports talk radio was founded on, those kind of discussions.
Being able to have a discussion on the topic.
Where you have sides. Your opinion, the other side has their opinion. You bring facts from both sides, and it makes for a great show.
And now everybody's...
You're instantly shouted down if it's not agreed with.
You're the labels.
Right.
Like, I can't just... it would be much better if we were all just bananas. Talking bananas, yeah. And then you wouldn't be able to put a label. Like if Andre, even if it's a sports fan, as Andre says, well, I think the Bucks are going to be pretty good this year, you're going to say you're a Bucks fan. It's the immediate label to disenfranchise your opinion, and especially in social media and stuff. Somebody like, let's say, a Tony Romo or a Phillip Rivers or an actual someone who played the game will say something about the game, and the people on the internet will be like, no, they're idiots. They don't know. They don't know anything. Yep. And the vilification of people putting them in a situation where you say they're evil for choosing this, or someone's evil for doing this, and they're just trying to take care of themselves and or their family in a certain way. It is a weird situation to be in.
Yep.
All right, guys. Looking at some of this, I do want to bring this up real quick. We've got for Andre and Rob, a quick note. Rob came in a couple weeks back and did our Mount Rushmore of Crest Chargers. We got it down to Bullard, Spikes. Who was the last two? He wasn't
No,
on.
we didn't put Coleman on there.
He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Oh, okay.
Rob did the Mount Rushmore, and he had. We're trying to figure out who all he had the other day.
Tim Ramsor was on it.
And Trey Harbison.
Trey Harbison.
Okay. Well, that's the discussion. We're going to give Rob a refresh here.
Would you just put all offensive players? You didn't put no defensive players?
Yeah, Spikes, Timmy Ramsor, Brandon Spikes, and Jonathan Bullard. It's three defensive players, only one offensive.
So in our counties in North Carolina, Cleveland, Gaston, Lincoln, and Rutherford counties, where our radio stations are located, I put together all the schools that had a player who has made an appearance in a regular season football game. Not practice squad, not drafted, none of that. You've had to have made an appearance. 12 of the 18 schools have had a player make the NFL. Cleveland High School used to be here in Shelby. Rob, do you know the history of Cleveland and Shelby High School? They're listed separately according to the NFL.
Cleveland High School was before integration.
Okay.
Actually, my foster grandmother, who helps me at school, actually attended Old Cleveland High School.
Okay.
That's what it was. That was the group there before integration was Cleveland High School.
You gone? Okay. So make sure you lock that. Close the door when you go out. So Shelby High School. We had folks guess, and Rob, if you were going to guess, would you have guessed the school that had the most?
Well, like you said, I'm sitting there looking, and you look at the list for Chase.
Yeah.
And you know more, I guess, success than what you would think for them.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of shocking when you see that. Absolutely.
So let's give some notes of. Let's go through the 12 teams of note a little bit. I don't know much about some of these. RS Central has two players, one current, Jermaine Pratt. Phil Forney played in the NFL in 1987, both linebackers. East Rutherford had Lewis Jolly play in the NFL in 72 and 73, a running back. Over in Gaston County, how about who's the most successful team in Gaston County, Rob? State championship wise and everything.
The Red Raiders.
They only have one professional NFL player.
And it's crazy. We're talking about them. I've always and he's on this list that I've seen play at Shelby High School, is Robert Williams.
Okay.
I mean, to me, he would be a number one to me. In the time I've been able to watch football and follow the sports, Robert Williams is my number one on a Shelby Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Just an incredible job. Here's another question for you, Kevin, and I've talked about this with other Shelby fans. And when's the last time, and you got one now out there at Virginia Tech, but how often out of all these championships do you hear this kid's going to a D1 football school?
Big school. I thought Darquez Lee, somebody should have signed him.
It's amazing.
He threw a beautiful football, especially the defenders. You'd think seeing some of the defenders get to go. It seems like every Crest defense, one or two defenders is going to a D1
Right.
a D1 school almost every year. I mean, god dang, Xanders and Foster on the same Clemson defense on the same high school defense is incredible. You're looking at your guys, the Mount Rushmore we did with you. Would you put Coleman back on it now that we didn't talk about it? Or is that, from an outsider looking in, this is the way I would say it. Now, like I said, you know way more about the program. As an outsider looking in, the easiest way, and this is how we do in society, is pure accomplishments, how they do. I would say Bullard, Spikes, Coleman, and then you have to choose between Trey and Willie Green.
See, here's my thing with Chris. I don't know now, and Chris was phenomenal, and he came along at a time where the idea of Crest football started to change, and he won that championship in '94. I don't know if Chris is the best wide receiver to come through Crest after that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Chesley Borders, and I know he didn't make it on this list in NFL, but if I'm gonna, you tell me I'm picking one of these receivers, I'll probably take Chesley Borders.
I'm sure the Colemans wouldn't like that.
And
then how do you choose between Trey Harbison and Willie Green? Willie never lost a game,
You're
won
right.
2 state championships.
You're exactly right.
If you just say that at any school, you had a quarterback who never lost a game in 2 years and won 2 state championships, and is he on your Mount Rushmore? And you said no.
Here's my thing there. And again, I love, and I don't want to sound like I'm belittling any of these guys.
Right.
Because it's been such a joy to watch them play. Willie went undefeated for those 2 teams. Does Jamie Smith go undefeated with those 2 teams? I say yes.
Okay.
Does Ryan Hamrick, who won that first championship in '94, go undefeated with those teams? I say yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's where my question then comes. Okay, if I pull you out and I put somebody else in, do I get the same results?
Right.
I think there's a chance it happens. To me, it goes to the blessing of all that is how fortunate, and looking at all these lists and these discussions of Mount Rushmores and all those things, how fortunate we've been in Cleveland County to follow and see the teams we have has where we've been so fortunate.
That was bothering me. Does that sound better or different? Check. That's not me, is it? Check. Oh, did it go down?
Uh-huh.
How did that work? Check. Yeah, it went down on the internet. People listen on the.
Okay,
we've got an extra
Gotcha.
sound thing on. I'm checking my.
But I think
it's not the mouthpiece, Rob. It's this earpiece has a short in it.
right.
And if I do the stuff different, but anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, that's kind of where I would look at it. If I remove this player and get same results, I'd have to say that to me that's where it would change things a little bit.
Totally understand that. So Kevin Mack was the last Kings Mountain Mountaineer to make it to the pro level. Of course, playing there with the Cleveland Browns.
And I'm trying to remember, is he related to Rickalin Mack?
Yeah, that's his uncle.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he's. They got the same booty.
Gotcha. and can run people over.
Rob, I mean that team last year. I hate being. I don't want to be the one to ever say that it's the you didn't lose because of the referees. They didn't lose because of the referees. I think they lost because of a weird system of playoff, to where you can go for 2 hours, and the final score is 7-7.
Right.
and then you write down at the end of the game, the final score is 56-55 in 7 overtimes. It's not the same game getting the ball on the 10-yard line.
Here's what Kings Mountain's got to replace from last year. You go back to the last game of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
You win the game, you got a chance at the 1 out of the Big South. You lose that game, and you're getting the 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that when they lost that game to Crest, and Crest won the conference,
Mm-hmm.
and then Huss finishes third because they had that victory over Kings Mountain, that put that Kings Mountain team behind the 8 ball so much. If they win and they get the 1 seed, that game's probably at Kings Mountain.
They ended up with what, 7, 8, or 9?
The seed,
6, 7.
they were the 10 as far as seeding.
Yeah,
Kings Mountain was the 10 seed.
They were 10 seed.
And that's another thing too.
It's not that I don't think the home game lost them that game, but what you're saying,
I think
just being there, the Catholic couldn't. I would say this: I don't think Catholic was better than them at all.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think. I hate when these Catholic reminded me of South Point, where it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick offense,
Right.
where we're just doing this one thing, and Kings Mountain scored every which way. And what I think the overtime rules cost them, because if you get the ball in the 20, Rob, and you stop somebody from getting a first down, that means that they have to kick a field goal,
Right.
more than likely. Kings Mountain had this opportunity to stop them. Can't say they didn't. But Catholic went for 2 or 3 fourth downs in overtime. And if that's on the 10-yard line, they're not doing that. They're kicking extra points. They're kicking field goals instead of touchdowns.
Right. Well, and here's my
and that's
thing,
not
too.
fair to a team that, if your offense, think about it, Catholic's offense is designed to do what it did in the whole game. Waste all the clock, score 7 points. Well, then if you give the ball on the 10, that's all they got to damn do. You gave them, you made the overtime for their offense, is what you did.
I go back and I look at the Burns North Lincoln game, where Burns gets the 2-point conversion.
Burns pulled that one after Badou.
But you look at, and my point is, once you're into overtime 2 or 3, and it's obvious Catholic cannot stop your best player.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't go to Pace Hour in one of those overtimes, I sure as heck make it look like it, and either my quarterback or Rashard Brooks is going the other direction.
Well, they never had a problem scoring on Catholic in overtime. It was that 10 yards I thought was the difference.
So if you're Coach Lloyd, at one point you think, okay, I'm kind of playing with house money here. I'm showing that I can score, and you're starting to see Catholic having to go for it on those fourth downs. At some point, if you're Greg Lloyd, do you say, okay,
you got to go for 2?
Let's go for 2.
We're
on the road.
A lot of people said that.
But I think going back history-wise, I think back to the Crest Northern Guilford game when Crest misses the extra point.
I don't want to say it this way, but I don't trust the play calling for Kings Mountain. I don't mind throwing toss-ups to Kobe maybe on first down, but they would do it on like fourth down. You're just like, shit, what are y'all doing? But he converted. He played his butt off. It's just to me in that game, and it's not even a Kings Mountain and Catholic thing. It's a fairness thing to me that if you don't have to get a first down, and you can just think about it. All you're doing is failing 3 times and then getting it right on the 4th time.
Here's something that's interesting, and I'm sitting there thinking if I've seen them do it. You think about Crest using the Wildcat and having that back they just direct snap to, and they let the offensive line go. Shelby last year with Jahari Mitchell became you talk about ridiculous play. You think about Kings Mountain athletes. Have you ever seen them line up in that formation?
They did that a couple of times. What they would do, they would actually go to a jumbo, and I'm trying to remember. It was Rickalin.
That'd be who I would give it to.
It was Rickalin who was running it. They did it. That's what they did. They would go to a jumbo set, and they would bring those linebackers in, and they would be.
How about 4 downs of that? The 10-yard line.
That's what they did 2 rounds of that in overtime. What they had problem with is that Kings Mountain Catholic had this monster defensive tackle,
right?
And so if they ran at him, he blew it up. And so they kept having to run left. So not only when Kalen was in there for that play, the other team knew that's the direction they're going to go to because we can't block 75.
That's when you pull out of your bag of tricks when Kalen gets the ball. You hope he can throw like this.
Oh, God. They tried. I think they about tried one time, and it wasn't Kalen throwing. It might have been Brooks. Somebody rolled to throw, and then they tucked it, and they didn't throw it. Like I said, like Kings Mountain, and when I said I thought there was a better team, a football team, is that they were one of those teams that was kind of like the old Dallas Cowboys where you could close your eyes and pick the play you wanted to run,
right,
and there's a good chance it was going to work. Like, I never felt they were going to be stopped in that game. But Catholic in that 10 yards, they couldn't stop them on fourth down, or, the defense.
Right. But talking about the teams, that we'll see, that realignment's supposed to be coming up.
Yeah, they've postponed that.
Yeah, that COVID thing. And I've seen some interesting things numbers-wise. Looks like South Point's going to be back in 3A. Looks like Huss and Stuart Kramer both dropping to 2A, which surprises me a little bit. Interesting conference. West Meck dropping to 3A. So one projections I've seen, Crest, Kings Mountain, with those other Gaston County schools, and West Meck thrown into the mix.
I think I got the number somewhere right here.
But then I saw another interesting one that had Crest and Kings Mountain going to a conference with schools like High Brighton and Freedom, schools like that. And then, Shelby's in a conference with Rutherford County and Christ the King or
we already run they run the max prep ratings, right, as the seedings, right?
Yes.
So my proposal would be to, first of all, 5A and a charter school league, and then
because you're right there, because that's who's killing your 1A and 2A schools or charter schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's who's being hurt by those schools.
Well, you're almost when are you going to see a 1A public school win a non-football type sport like baseball, basketball, where one guy or one person or two people could win you a state championship? And 3A is not going to happen. But yeah, the 1A, that the charter schools are killing them. I would propose, Robbie, to have 10 to 12 team conferences.
Right.
Number one is travel. If we're going to use max preps for anyway, why is East Rutherford traveling to East Gaston?
Right.
And driving past 10 other schools?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to do the max preps ratings, I don't really mind and we have seeding issues anyway. We've never got those right no matter what. Kings Mountain being a 10 seed last year exemplifies that.
That's ridiculous.
So why not just go ahead and do the split conferences by geography, and then you can do the max preps ratings on there. Who cares?
My thing
really,
is,
what you're doing, real quick, is what you're doing right is separating the conference champions and ranking them, and then after that it goes in the max preps ratings.
My thing is, put them together, like you said, group regions together.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even worry about school size yet.
Right.
Until the playoffs.
Right.
And then that way you're not realigning 4A every 2 years. It's every playoffs.
What about gate size? Okay, let's say this. Bessemer and Cherryville. They started that conference. They added Highland Tech into the conference. Bessemer and Cherryville started as 2A schools.
Right.
Bessemer and Cherryville were 2A with Lincoln, East Lincoln, West Lincoln. East Lincoln was 3A then. West Lincoln, Lincoln, Maiden, all these schools were 2A. And then these charter schools started popping up, and then they all dropped out. And then now you're sitting there looking at the conference, Rob, and you see 8 schools, and only 2 of them are public.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that the charters can't have their own conference when they already have it. Now, if you're Cherryville and Bessemer, okay, we'll stick with Cherryville. If I'm Cherryville, which is better for me, and I don't know how the max preps work, would it be better to me to lose to Lincoln than to beat Highland Tech?
That's a good question.
Would it be better? And that's just whatever sport you want in that. Okay, as far as Cherryville goes, which gate's going to be better? Playing West Lincoln or Pine Lake Prep from wherever?
Right.
Not only is the prep school only going to have parents as the fans, they're also 45 minutes away. on all these schools. So you're losing casual fans because there are none at these schools. You're losing old fans because there are none at these schools. Then you're losing travel fans, and then you're losing only parents.
see,
So Cherryville, it would be better off losing to Burns and West Lincoln and some of these other local. Burns is a 2A now. What's the problem for Cherryville and West Lincoln and Burns should play every single year. They are 7, 8, 10 minutes down the road, the same road from each other. You just take a left out of the parking lot and you go to Burns. Think about that. The West Lincoln and Burns folks, Robbie, is just like the Crest folks. They share the same geographical territory. Right. They all touch each other. So it would be a natural rivalry, a close school. And every time we ask Terry about it, you know what he says?
What's that?
What year does Pryor graduate? He said, "We'll see y'all then."
And see, here's my thing, and Jeff Melton's talked about it. Crest is in you're in a league that's a county touching yours. People from Gaston County don't travel. Mm. They're not coming to Crest to watch these games.
Should we have separate football conferences?
I think so.
Then what if
I think football needs to be a different animal.
Because what if
you could make your travel bigger with football too?
Right. Well, because what if you did this? And because Appalachian did that, they're small. Their smaller sports was in a different conference. With
right.
Football, when football was in Division 1 AA, they were in the SoCon, but all the other sports were Division 1 in a completely separate conference. So only the football team went against Georgia Southern and Furman and those. The other ones weren't actually. Some of them weren't in those conferences. Some of them were. Some of them weren't.
That's why one of the best games and would help athletically. You said, create an entirely different football league conferences, because you talk about a rivalry that hasn't happened, and I think because there's some hard feelings football wise, Crest and East Rutherford baseball. It would be a great gate rivalry wise. That would be a great conference to see the 4 Cleveland County schools and maybe the Rutherford County schools for all the other sports.
Yeah, and that's the thing is football, and that's where all the feelings get hurt and everything else. But like I said, at Cherryville and Bessemer, there wasn't a school around that I didn't think we could beat or compete with in any other sport besides.
I say put Cherryville in a baseball conference with the rest of Gaston County.
But besides the football thing, baseball, basketball too. Cherryville's basketball. When I was there, the 2 years we went to the Final Four, there's nobody in this area that could beat us except one team. Shelby gave us some runs, and I'll tell you why. You remember Killian Oliver? Mm-hmm. He was just bigger than anybody we had. And so they worked him down low really well, and so he gave us fits. They beat us in the county championship. But other than that, we didn't lose around here. Right. We lost to Thomasville in the States. And that's my thing of always, because when I played, we had – 2 years older than me was the Johnson twins. A year older than me was the Bell twins. 3 years older than me was Ralph Roberts and Gary Johnson. All in each set of those twos, walking onto the court, we felt we had the 2 best players. Right. No matter what you had out there, whether it was Norris, but that was football. So basketball and baseball and all these other sports, we'll play. I got Chris Mason pitching today. I don't care who he's going to bring up to the plate. We're ready we can play. So the lesson, I guess, some of this, Rob, we're talking about is no matter what school you're at, you can make it pro.
Absolutely.
And just because you go to a certain school doesn't mean you're going to make it pro, going to make it Division I, going to do this. Now, going to a certain school to play and for state championship and things like that, you could probably pick and choose.
I was going to say, if your plans is if your goal is a state title, then you're going to play for Shelby.
Right.
I mean,
well, that would be the first choice. Kings Mountain's got too tough a road. They're always in the big 3A. That's probably the toughest that I think.
Which I'll be honest, what I hope, we talked about 5A, what I would like to see, because I've seen some examples, I think it worked great for our teams locally, is to go back to 4A. You do 25% wise each section, and then you split 1A and 4A. That allows your smallest 1A schools to play each other and your biggest 4A schools to play each other. And the balance looks really good talent-wise.
Yeah, the people don't realize how big those 4A schools actually, the jump in numbers is. That's why I was thinking of 5A. I would have all those big ones in the 5. And then
there are some big 3A
out,
schools that should be playing. Crest or who Kings Mountain shouldn't be in the same division as some of these schools from Union County, places like that. They're getting so big.
Robbie, I've got a magic sheet of paper somewhere around here that has that broken down how I thought it would be or could be. What about this proposal, real quick, before we finish up with baseball? I'm sorry, we kind of got on this a while. What if you did something, and we talked roster size earlier? What if there was a roster size instead of school size? So the 5As had, if you got 100 people come out, you're 4A. If you got 75, 3A, 50, 2A.
Here's where that.
Because right now you're counting students that don't even play football. You're counting cheerleaders and kids that aren't even athletes, as opposed to counting actual football players.
That becomes tough. Here's what I'd like to see changed: is the 8-quarter rule.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Crest I think can 8-quarter 5 guys because they're 3A. Shelby's allowed because they're a 2A school, can 8-quarter, and I don't remember but anyway, it's a much bigger number than what Crest or somebody like that can. You tell me Shelby needs that advantage to 8-quarter?
No, but West Lincoln
many
would.
Kids? I mean, you know, they don't need that. You know, they don't need that big of a.
Well, just
advantage.
in 2A, does how many more people is on Shelby's roster as opposed to West Lincoln? You know what I mean? And that's what I was getting at with the rosters. Like, West Lincoln have more students than Shelby, but Shelby's football team might have 50 players and West Lincoln 30, and that's what I meant by we're counting girls and ninth graders and all these other people who don't even actually play football.
When do you start having teams stash guys on the JV team?
No, I'm just talking about total. Whatever your total football number is, there ain't no across JV and because it's counting total football players,
right?
Because that's the same thing to me as counting 3A, 2A, 4A schools. You're just counting actual football players. So Cherville's football program has 40 players in it,
right?
So they
play at this level.
They'll play at that level. Whatever your if you want to have a JV team, that's up to you. But whatever your total number is, and to keep it fair, maybe you could do last year's numbers or something,
right?
So you know some teams aren't trying to jump up or whatever. So you say, well, last year you had registered this many players. You had 75 on the rosters. You're in this level. To me, it's just, I think that might be better than counting cheerleaders and band players.
To me, but the first step's got to be for the Athletic Association. They've got to remove football from everybody else. That's got to be two different discussions.
It is different.
What we do football wise and what we do athletic program wise.
All right, let's touch on the baseball. See what Rob likes and dislikes. Baseball's coming back. 60 games.
Isn't it going to be crazy where the home run leader at the end of the year could have like 19 home runs?
You know what I'm concerned with is there's going to be someone batting 400.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should count any of these as season stats. A lot of people have batted 400 for half the season before, over 100 games. So I don't think, and Rob, where we've went through the steroid era and other places, you know, if I take a substance, you and me both take, if I eat an apple and you take a pill, and they both allow me to lift 185 pounds, well, aren't they both performance-enhancing substances?
Right.
So a lot of the thing with the McGuire and the Bond stuff was they never actually did anything that was A, illegal,
that's right,
and B, or against baseball rules. We have a situation where the all-time hits and the all-time home run leader is not in the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
We've had changes in regular seasons before, from 140 to 152 to 160, 158, 162 games. Now this year's 60. I know that's not the norm, but at some point the baseball numbers have been wiped out to where they don't matter almost anymore.
It's just like a problem this year. The extra inning rule. You're starting with a guy on second base. I mean,
how does that affect your ERA?
That's a great question.
Does it? If you're a pitcher in the extra innings and you put a guy on second, who does that run count against? Does it go against me? And I didn't put him out at second.
Right.
Like, who does that run go against? I mean, we have baseball scoring rules. That as a scorekeeper, I would want to know. It's got to go against somebody.
Yep.
Like, think about it, you're giving up an earned run on a guy on second. And if you come in the game, Rob, and there's a guy on second, is that your runner? No, it's not your runner.
That's right.
So for the pitchers,
And like you said, that just proves the fact that the rules and things have been, and we talked about last time I was here, where the tightening of the baseball to get more home runs. So the equipment's been tampered with,
Right.
At times to change numbers. So do stats really? And what's funny is baseball is one of those games where if I throw you a number, you know what it is. Mm-hmm. But they've played with the game so much. Are those stats valid anymore?
No. I mean, what number? Think about this. The home runs have turned into the home run race doesn't mean anything.
I'll be honest in you right now. I know Hank Aaron hit 755. I have no clue what Barry Bonds' final
It's
number was.
762 or 3. It's
you know,
only 7 or 8 home runs more. And I think that's one thing one thing about Bonds that makes people mad is that he specifically did it because he wanted the recognition.
Right.
As opposed to, I don't think McGwire did it to be famous. I think he was
McGwire
doing
just
it to
did
play
to
baseball and
crush baseballs.
crush baseballs. I honestly think he was just doing it to crush baseballs.
Well, to me, you go back and look at the days before St. Louis, even in Oakland. I mean, that was the
He
whole
didn't. He hit.
purpose.
Put it this way: McGuire's rookie year, Rob, he hit 49 home runs. Besides the year Bonds hit 73, his highest ever in his career is 49, and that's the year after he hit 73. So in Mark McGuire's rookie year, he hit more home runs than Bonds hit in every other season of his career.
Right.
That wasn't steroid tainted, and McGwire was drafted as a pitcher from USC. The thing about the numbers is like you're saying is that you know Hank Aaron 755. Well, if a batter, if I said, Rob, I want you to break the home or hit the home run rate, what would get America excited about a batter hitting home runs? Would he have to go past 73, or would 62 or 3 be enough now? Would that excite fans saying, hey, we're going after the old records that aren't steroid tainted? You know what I mean? Like, what would get, like, as a casual baseball fan or a non-casual, what would get you excited? Because the numbers don't mean anything. Did you? Let me read you. You've been in here with some of our war conversation. Have you seen this Twitter battle with Trevor Bauer that he's had online? I'm going to read some of this stuff out loud, Robbie, and I just can't believe that people say this stuff. Okay, so he was going back and forth with Aubrey Huff, who's a 2-time World Series champion. They're arguing about war and helping their teams win. Okay. Huff says that the fact that your first tweet says, I'll forward you some of my followers, tells me everything I need to know about you. You would rather build a brand than win. That's why I have 2 World Series rings and you don't. So that was Huff talking about winning and you know what it takes. Here's his response. Thanks, Pookie. I know some people are only capable of doing one thing at a time. Others of us can walk and chew bubblegum simultaneously, meaning he can promote himself and his brand and play baseball at the same time. And if you want to, now here's the kicker. Here's where my head just spun off and exploded. And if you want to talk about winning, there's a stat called wins above replacement that does that.
I hate that stat.
You ready for this, Rob? Me, 17.4. You, 17.3. I'm better at winning and tweeting. Rob, again, and we're going to do the math for you folks at home that can't do the math. I have 17.4 WAR and you have 17.3. That's why I'm better than you. Forget the fact he couldn't do the actual mathematical equation for WAR. He couldn't do it if he wanted to.
Right.
Nobody can. You have it's like a 27-step process. How about this? So Aubrey responded, I'll take my 2 rings over your 0.1 percentage in WAR. And laughing face. The fact that you value an individual nerd stat over team wins is textbook participation trophy generation.
Yep.
I couldn't have said it better, and I guess you can't either. But Rob, if you sit there and had 2 World Series rings in your hand, and I told you I'm better than you because I have .1 better WAR, that I have .1 better WAR. Now let's break that down. Wins above replacement. So what that means is they've averaged out the average bench warmer at a position. Now he's saying I'm better than you because I have .1 more WAR than you. So wins above the average. If you have 17, whatever. 1 win, Rob. We can do this simple math, right? Out of 162 games, what's the percentage of that?
I don't really want to try to figure it.
What is 1/10 of 1 win?
Very little.
So Bauer is bragging about winning 1/10 of 1 win of a baseball season. There's 9 innings in a game, Rob. That means he's bragging about being 2 outs better than Aubrey Huff. He would rather be 2 outs of a whole season better than you than have those 2 World Series rings.
To me, we talked about baseball and what they need to do, and game than what I'm doing in the American League.
Even playing, Rob, the video game. Let's say you play the video game in baseball.
Right.
And you're playing with an American League team. Do you ever pinch hit?
No.
Do you ever do anything other than hope
Nope.
your guys get hits?
Nope.
Because your best hitters are already in the lineup, right?
That's right.
So in the National League, you got a pitcher hitting, which means the 5 guys on the bench are better
And
bats.
here's my thing. I love the idea. You're thinking about it. You got a pitcher, man. The game's 0-0. This pitcher is on it, but we're in the 8th inning.
Do you take him in
I've
or
got
not?
a guy at second base. Am I going to pull this guy who is pitching lights out?
It don't happen in the American League, does it?
Don't have to think about those things.
Nothing. You just it's almost like just a machine. Y'all go out there and pitch, coach. And then if you got the managers coaching by analytics as instead of their guts, what are they doing?
That's right.
Besides, because think about it. If we're going to argue over .1 in WAR, and you got a coach, Robbie, that sits there and says, well, shit, my lefty's 0 for his last 5 against this guy, but he's been killing it in practice. I'm going to put him in there today. And the fans will lose their minds over the percentages. But we're arguing over 0.1
0.1
percentage. What the fuck? So the DH, I'll put it this way. Everybody says we don't want to watch pitchers hit. Mike Trout strikes out. You ready for this percentage? 24% of his at-bats. How do you tell me that? That's the best hitter, Rob. Shit. When we argue this stuff, talk about this stuff, that drives me crazy that you're telling me a guy swinging and striking out. Because I was making this argument that striking out was the worst thing you can do. And they're like, no, hitting into a double play is. I'm like, well, it's not my fault the dumb fucker didn't get to second base. Still second. Get to second. Do something.
That's it. The ball in play. So much more can happen than a guy just whiffing.
Yes. Just the striking out is the worst. Also, it depends on who's behind you in the lineup. So I like to say at best, I either batted second or sixth. We had 3 monster guys from 3, 4, 5. Okay, those guys stayed in that spot. Well, Rob, if I'm batting second, what do I want to do?
Move the runner.
I'm in front of those guys. What do I want? I want to get on base.
Okay, I was just thinking about a guy being on. But.
Still second if I can to get out of a double play situation. I thought about that as the runner in front of them. Mm-hmm. If I'm on first and I got a slow shit behind me, my big DH is behind me, I need to steal second if I can. So if he does hit a chopper, guess what? It's not a double play. And if he does hit a ground ball, Rob, and I'm already on second, 90% of the time, where am I going to end up?
At third.
So now we're on third before anything's even happened. So that to me is a little bit weird. Then when I batted sixth, well, now the big boppers are in front of me, and the guys behind me, Rob, can't knock me in if I score. If I get on, they're not going to knock me in except by small ball.
Yep.
So then I got to steal a base for small ball. Mm-hmm. So it's totally different. And then my approach to hitting is different. If I'm batting second, I'm taking more pitches trying to get on base so the big guys behind me can spank it. If I'm batting sixth, I'm almost every time, Rob, trying to get a double.
Yeah, you got to be aggressive.
Because either I'm knocking one of the guys in front of me in, or I'm trying to get on so one of the guys behind me can get on. I don't know how many times in the sixth spot I'll get on and I'm stranded. Mm-hmm. I've just sat there just all day just waiting on somebody to get me in and get in, and it sucks. And you batting in front of people that can hit. Oh, that's so fun.
You're right.
You steal second, be aggressive, do whatever you want, and that stuff is fun. And people don't take that doesn't go into WAR at all. How many times do you think Albert Pujols has hit a ball backside with a runner on, as opposed to taking it or trying to draw a walk? That stuff's just so crazy. All right, Rob, this weekend, real quick, we were at Pocono for 2 weeks. You get to watch 2 races. Did you get to watch any of them?
Watched just a little bit this week.
Hamlin and Harvick are the winners. Those were our predicted winners from the weekend, I think, show. Ended up being the same ones. The Chevrolets didn't show up too well in Pocono. I've never been a big fan of the track. So
yeah, to realize Denny Hamlin tied Jeff Gordon for most wins at
Pocono.
At that track.
But what was interesting that they got it done almost at dark.
Yeah.
And Rob, I noticed you liked one of my tweets a few days ago.
Absolutely did.
I'm so tired of NASCAR and American Legion not being able to figure out that it rains
NASCAR
every day.
You think back to the
at
day
the same time.
NASCAR used to always start at 1:00.
Well, what about this? NFL games start at 1 every damn Sunday. Why can't
They used to
NASCAR?
always
Don't
start
tell
at
me
1
you
o'clock.
can't. If the Cowboys can play at 1, the NASCAR can do it 1. The other thing that aggravates me right now is I've been a cord cutter, so I don't have FS1, and FS1 is blocked through a couple of different ways from being on the PlayStation. So I can't even pull it up on my PlayStation and watch it online. So anyway, why? So this Sunday, yesterday, they showed the race on FS1. You know what was on Fox? Not Braves, Yankees, 1996-7 World Series replay.
That sounds like an FS1 game to me with a race on Fox.
Like I'm old enough to remember, Rob, that they put the real live event on national regular TV as opposed to tape replay event.
Always.
And I'm just sitting there, you guys, it's not like they didn't own the rights. Y'all own the damn rights. Why are we watching? And think about this. They actually planned this Pocono race months in advance. This was already going to happen. So they agreed to do this and put the 98 World Series on Fox. And people wonder why Mariano Rivera got 100% of the votes as a closer.
That's exactly right.
When they put the 98 World Series of replay on Fox. Oh, God. All right, this weekend, real quick, July 4th weekend, we're going to Indianapolis, the Brickyard. 400, big machine, hand sanitizer 400, if you want to know the exact.
Had to get some hand sanitizer in it this
The
time.
exact words. That's Sunday at 4 o'clock. That's funny. The hand sanitizer 400 in
That's what
Indianapolis.
going to be great when they get out of the car and they got a big tub of hand sanitizer and they're just pouring it over the guy. That's going to be outstanding. I can't wait to see that.
Instead of the
Instead of shaking a bottle, he's got shaking hand sanitizer and it's going everywhere.
I've got a video I've got to pull up one day for you, Rob. But it's on that NASCAR game I got. When you win a race, they show the driver celebrating and shooting champagne and they're doing all their things and pouring milk and everything. Well, all they do, drink milk in Indy, I guess. But my son has got a Bigfoot that the electric power wheels or whatever, and I didn't know what he was doing. He ran some circles around our little track, and he stopped beside me, stood up in his car, and he started doing the celebration. So I've got a video of him like waving the fake champagne, shaking the champagne bottles,
hilarious.
standing on the back of his truck flossing. Like they're all flossing on the video game, but that's what he was doing. I was like, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm celebrating my win," and he did it almost the exact way they did on the game.
Awesome.
Oh, it's hilarious. All right, Rob, I want to thank you for coming in today.
Yes, sir.
Let's real quick get Rob up one more time. Tell the people about those Philadelphia Eagles. You got a fly Eagles fly for us?
EAGLES Eagles.
Oh, look at little RJ. He's so cute. Look at little RJ. Let's see if I can get me. Money Manziel time. Money. All right, Rob, one more. Let's see. I think I got you on the. There you go. Chipperoop.
Gonna hit a double for sure. That's all I do.
Tell me about your war.
My war, we're gonna have, I told you, 120 people protesting in the streets. We are anti-war.